Cool. Erik, nice to meet you, dude.
Nice to meet you as well.
Where exactly are you right now? In San Francisco?
I'm not. I'm in LA. So yeah, I'm moving up to San Francisco in a couple of months, but I'm still in LA.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it a new move or a new position that you started, or?
Yeah, I've left the car industry pretty recently. So I joined an eVTOL company. So I guess aviation. So yeah, heading up there, just testing out something new. Yeah.
Is it kind of like a tech startup, or is it aviation per se?
Yeah, I'd say it's, I guess it's a mix. It's they're called Archer. I can probably say that. So yeah, and just an eVTOL electric, plane company. So yeah, just wanted to try something new and be a little bit uncomfortable. So yeah.
Cool. Is that was that like a conscious decision, or has it just kind of an offer came through and you've gone for it?
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest, because like
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like I'm sort of like roaming around, escaping a little bit at times, and it came to that point where I felt like, it's getting pretty comfortable where I'm at, and just try something new, and yeah, and I was pretty scared about making that move too, because it's not like I really know what I'm doing, so it's yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Erik, I have to say, I honestly didn't know really all that much about you. I just I do know I'm there was that one concept that you did 2-3 years ago with like this flat-sided like this flat body side with a really sculptural greenhouse, which I'm probably explaining that terribly, but I think that's descriptive enough.
Well, I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest.
There was I don't know if you did it while you were at university, but there's a car that you did that was really like, it was flat side. The body side was completely flat, and then the greenhouse is like really organic and sculptural. If you don't know, then I've got to probably look that up. Fucking hell. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'll tell you now.
Well, I should probably know, but yeah.
You should, but actually it turns out that you've fucking done so much awesome shit that you don't know which one it is. Okay, it's called, is it VDBS? Is that it?
VDBS?
It says K-Mag on the top.
Oh yeah. It's it's like this wedge shape thing. Of course, it's yeah. It was kind of like just a little like side project I did on my own. What can I say? Like kind of NASCAR looking wedge, like looking at those Japanese dome cars from the 70s, I think. So yeah, it's purely just like me, just having fun on the side, and yeah, it just resulted into that, and then yeah, just published it, or like on social medias and stuff, and yeah, and that's that. Yeah. Cool
as shit, dude. How long does it take you to do something like that?
I don't know. That's a full Alias model actually. So it's I'm a little bit slower in Alias than some other softwares, but I think I spent like I think a couple of months on it, but like just evening work and on the side. So yeah.
And rendered in what? Keyshot?
Keyshot, yeah.
Is that your go-to thing?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say, but obviously I'm running a pirate version of that. But yeah, I use VRED, Keyshot, and yeah, that's pretty much the two. Yeah.
Okay, and do you like spend ages getting the renders just right, or are you not too precious about it?
I'd say I use Keyshot and VRED to like the extent of my knowledge, and then I just cheat the hell out of it in Photoshop after, just like do all the after work to kind of make it pop more and skew it a little bit, give it a bit more stance, all the cheats in there, but yeah.
So, dude, so as I said, I honestly I didn't know all that much about you, but I obviously knew, I was really well aware of that project, and I'd spoken to quite a few people that said that you were a super nice dude, and that was kind of enough for me to go on. And then I started stalking you on LinkedIn, and Jesus Christ, you've moved around quite a bit. You've done a few different things, and you've also studied in a few different places as well.
Oh yeah, it's been a bumpy ride, and I'm definitely a late bloomer, I think, into car design, because I did engineering first in Norway, but it was.
Are you Norwegian?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm Norwegian.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did engineering there, and then kind of realized, like, wasn't that great at it, and maybe also it was just didn't really catch my attention. So came across like just car design and like just some websites and stuff, and then stumbled upon Coventry and applied for an exchange year there. And obviously, all you need is a pulse and to pay tuition, you get in. So, kind of like did my fourth. It was like a 5 years like master degree in engineering. So I did my fourth year of that engineering course in Coventry, which became the second year of that bachelor's degree. Which, obviously when I returned to finish the engineering degree, they didn't approve any of that. So obviously, like they saw the coursework and the stuff I did in Coventry. They were like, this is not going to fly, So pretty much had to redo all the subjects going back to Norway.
Really?
Yeah. But as you can imagine, because I know you gone to Coventry, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
And I did.
But hey, I for what it was, I really enjoyed my time there. For sure, the worst city I ever lived in. But
yeah, it's a pretty shit city. But,
it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of a fine educational institution it is, but it was just like kind of getting into the environment and with like-minded people. That was really cool. And I still have like. My best friends are still people from Coventry. That 1 year I did over there. So yeah.
Did you go there to do engineering, or was it to do design?
Oh no, I applied for car design and kind of got a pre-approval from my engineering school in Norway, and they were like, yeah, that should be all right, But then when they saw the coursework and I presented the modules I'd done, they were like, yeah, none of that's gonna get approved. So yeah, that was. Yeah, it's a good time, but.
So where did you stay in Coventry?
Oh, dude, it's
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Like, what's it called? Far Gosford Street. You take
Gosford Street.
Yeah. You take that
and
down.
And then you go right.
Yeah, because that's westward, right? And then the Jaguar building, and then it's called Liberty Point. Liberty Point.
Liberty Point.
It's literally a prison tower, but it's called Liberty Point. It's a kind of student accommodation. Yeah.
I think I do. Is it on? Dude, I should know the fucking name of that street because I lived there for. I mean, I lived in Coventry for like 8 years, so I should know it. But it's. Are you talking about is it on the street that like runs parallel to Far Gosford Street? Like if you come out the university building, you go down Far Gosford Street. No, you first go down. If you Far Gosford or
if you come out the front of the building, you take a left. Past the Jaguar kind of building, whatever what it's called, and then down there, and there's like some shitty like kind of fried chicken place, I think, and then you have that old street, and then adjacent to that, there's like a big tower. And right. There's a circle. There's a big kind of exactly
traffic circle. So okay, so you go over that roundabout, and it's just on the left hand side. Is
exactly?
Yeah. Yeah. No. I remember. Yeah. So when I moved there, when I started in Coventry, I think they just opened that. And dude, sorry, I'm aware that my picture's kind of blown up, but it will correct itself. It's just you just got to put up with it for a second.
Yeah, no worries.
It's my shitty webcam. But they just opened that place, and it was kind of like I don't know, quite expensive at the time, you know, for I mean, as far as what you could get in Coventry, because you could get places for like, you know, £40 a week sort of thing, you know. It was that cheap at that time.
Oh, for sure. It was like a decision I made, I think, being in Norway, you know, and like just because the school kind of like accommodated you, and then I realized like how much of a hustle it really was, you know, when I got there. So yeah.
Cool. And you were there. So you were there for a year, and then you went back to Norway after that to finish your engineering degree.
Yeah, I did finish that up, and then kind of was like just like looking to get into design, and I did a bit of like boat design stuff, like as an internships in Norway on the side, and then somehow got into that, and then I applied for when I like just about as I was wrapping up the engineering degree. I applied for like the graduate scheme at JLR and an internship at Bentley. And for some reason I got offered like both of them. And it was just a real like, I was not ready for that graduate scheme even, I think. So I was like very much leaning towards the Bentley interior internship. So I'd signed both documents and I was going to the post office to send your like, you know, send the like what can I say, the acceptance kind of thing. And I drove to the post office with the Bentley like acceptance letter, and then I just like stopped, did a 180, went back home, put the Bentley thing down, and grabbed the JLR thing and went and mailed that instead. So I don't know, just a last minute decision, and then so I ended up going to JLR for only 1 year.
Where were you at LandRover?
Yeah, I was in the LandRover studio on that graduate scheme, and then quickly realized that I was pretty shit compared to the people around me, you know, like just not having the miles in, you know, doing proper car design and couldn't really sketch, you know, but kind of relied on kind of more modeling capabilities because I did a lot of, you know, CATIA and more engineering stuff in school. But for some reason, like my manager there, Andy Wheel, super awesome guy. The fact that he wanted to hire me, I don't know why, but yeah, I really appreciate that, and kind of like gave me a step into the industry. So I was
shout out to Andy Wheel.
Yeah, this is a great guy. Yeah.
And so fucking hell. So you were there and you felt a little bit out of your depth.
Oh, there was like some absolute rock stars there, you know, and to this day, like still the best Photoshopper I've ever seen. It's Joao Diaz. He's in McLaren now, Portuguese guy. Just like, it's like dripping wet candy apples, you know, everything he did. It's just amazing. And just seeing the guys around, I was just like, shit, this is like, I'm not ready for this, you know. But so yeah, I ended up just kind of like thinking it through, and then applied for Pforzheim because I just wanted to get, you know, do car design as a.
Oh, right. So was this an internship or the graduate scheme?
Well, it's the graduate scheme, so it's I'd say that's you're employed, but you get paid as an intern.
Yes, know? Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you deal with that? Did you just like did you have a panic about you, or did you speak to Andy about it, or did you just try and like tread water?
I didn't, because I think I was doing fairly all right. You know, I just wasn't able to like participate on the absolute most creative projects, you know, like just kind of more doing the facelifts and the thing. I wanted to do more, but you know, I wasn't capable of doing more, you know, and I felt like it wasn't a place where I could really learn, you know, and yeah, just wanted that like no pressure, go to school, kind of hustle, you know, that kind of whole setting and the environment, especially when you go online and you see all these awesome student models and, you know, the stuff that people are doing. You're like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. So I kept it like pretty on the low because I didn't even know if I was going to get an interview or nothing at Pforzheim. So I talked to a couple of the designers and like confided in them, and they were like, yeah, you know, they were like, I don't know why you want to do that, but if you want to do that, yeah, it's cool. So they kind of helped me a little bit. And then, yeah, I ended up getting an interview and going down there. And probably the hardest thing about that was, kind of probably telling it to my dad, who was like, so he was like basically saying that, so you're going to go to this school to study car design to get a job
that you've
as a
already
car
got.
designer that you kind of already have. And I was like, yeah. So it was a hard explain, but yeah. In the end, I ended up quitting and going down there, and yeah, it's had a lot of fun. So yeah.
Erik, did you not think that maybe I could learn more in a professional studio than going to the university?
Maybe it was a little bit like I was, maybe I was a little bit naive, or maybe I also like kind of had an internal panic to some extent. But I sincerely at that time felt like I couldn't, and that the environment right there didn't allow for that for me. So
because you should be to a large degree kind of already like comfortable.
Sure. I think it was just like the net result of like just everything, the whole situation. But it didn't feel like that to me. So I felt like this is what I had to do. And maybe it was not the most reasonable choice, but it's the choice I made. So yeah.
Honestly, it's a lot of people would probably be a lot better off if they made that choice, because obviously in the short term it seems like such a step backwards, but there's I don't know, there's a lot to be said for, as you said, like stepping out of that professional environment where you are, yes, obviously you are there to grow as well, but there is a certain level that you need to be maintaining on a daily basis, and that can become extremely overwhelming if you feel like every day is a bit of a struggle if you're not quite there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it's not like after I made the decision, I was in Pforzheim. It's not like I didn't regret the situation at times, because I was there, no money, living off of beans and, just bread, and, renting a shitty place and just going to that school. And it's not like Pforzheim is like it's a great place either, So I definitely had regrets like along the way, or like I reconsidered my decision, but overall, like looking back now, I'm really, really happy I did it, and the connections and the friends I made, and just like that, and being a part of that environment was great.
Did you feel a moment? Did you feel a moment where your skills kind of elevated there, or was it at Pforzheim?
Absolutely, and I think even getting that initial like kind of professional exposure at LandRover did really help that, because I could like take a second, take in the knowledge and kind of the stuff I'd seen there, and what people have done, and like just and kind of really go all in and focus on myself. Like it's pretty egoistic kind of way of doing things, but it's somehow just really enabled me to put it all out and kind of just get better. And obviously you go to a school like that and you see that just everyone around you are just better than you at like so many things, and you're just like, oh shit, you really got to work for it and that's how you get better, I think. So it was it was great.
How many people were in your like kind of year at the time?
So the way Pforzheim works, it's like kind of semesters, and I did the MA course, because obviously the BA course is you got to know German, and I don't speak much German, so we were like, each semester is pretty small. I think we were 5, and the semester above us was like 8, and the semester after us again was like 7 or 8. So it's pretty small.
But are you guys are kind of, I seem to ask this question to everybody, but is there a separation between the BAs and the MAs?
A little bit. There is, but it's still like kind of there's one little Pforzheim Transportation School is one little shack out in the woods, and you're all kind of just in the same environment, so you kind of just like hang out and do stuff in unison, but there definitely is a little bit of a divide, because you're basically on separate floors. Yeah.
And your your first position after that, where did you go to?
Well, I during Pforzheim, I was like super lucky to get an internship at Porsche. So I spent 6 months there, like probably to this day, like probably where I learned the most. Like the guys there, working with the guys there was really cool. Then I went to Renault for like kind of wrapping up the degree. Did like a thesis project there, and after that I had some offers in Germany and France, and then I was kind of leaning towards just staying in Germany. But then the only reason basically why I came out to California is one American designer in Renault, Yasu Jordan Sato. Yeah, he's super nice guy, and he had friends here in Honda in LA, and he just said, "Hey, these guys are looking for people. Would you like want to send your portfolio?" And I was like, yeah, I'd want to do that. So yeah, it just kind of got lucky and good timing, and ended up out here. So my first job after leaving LandRover and doing Pforzheim was Honda in LA.
How many internships did you do while you were at Pforzheim? Just those two?
Yeah, just those two. Because the MA course is super short. It's 4 semesters basically, whereas 2 of them are, hopefully they're out of the school. Yeah.
One of the things that was quite surprising to me, I mean, which I only kind of realized once I'd started working, is like, particularly in Europe, just how many internships people like try and do.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, on the one hand, it's great, I think, to kind of, test the waters in different areas and to see more things. But at the same time, it kind of seems like, I don't know, it's like this delaying the inevitable of finishing things up and getting a job.
Absolutely. I think there's 2 sides to that, because I think just from like the way I see it, it's like you'd want to get exposure and see different things, and just take in different impressions. But on one hand, you just want to get on with it too. And I think to some extent I can see how, for me personally, I would want to do more internships, just because I'm also like scared, to like, oh shit, because it's a little bit less pressure somehow, so you're just kind of okay, if I just do this, I'd get better. And so I think it has to do with that as well. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's also, from a networking standpoint, it's really important as well. Definitely.
Yeah.
I guess it just boils down to personal preference at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But there was this weird dynamic that I experienced with like a few students that was kind of like, there just wasn't any real clear end path with regards to just wrapping everything up. That's the only reason why I'm interested to get your spin on it. But I guess as a quote unquote mature student at that stage, you kind of were probably a bit more focused, a bit more like, I want to get back to working.
Well, yes and no. I wouldn't say like, even though I was older in terms of age, I think I wasn't any more mature than anyone else. But I think it had to do with, because at the exact time we did Pforzheim, they had kind of they had a rule, like they wouldn't allow you to do more than 2. So basically in the MA course, if you did more than 2, they'd kind of cut you, or they would threaten with like, hey, that's it, your spot's out, you're not done, or you're done with the course. And they kind of loosened up on that now, I think the few semesters after me. And so now people are doing just a lot more internships, it seems, in general, which, it has its pluses and minuses, I think. But
sure.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, would I've tried doing 1 more, 2 more? Probably I would have, So
right, you would have, yeah.
I think I might have, because I wouldn't say I'm not, I don't know, I wasn't that mature. I don't know if I'm like very mature right now, but still, I think I might have tried to opt for that. But I'm happy that they kind of did, set a limit like that. So, just get on with your life, basically. Yeah.
But are you doing primarily exterior stuff? I mean, prior to tech landscape.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have like a broad interest of just design in general, so I like try and do a lot of different things, not necessarily just exterior, interior, but for sure like exterior is what I've been employed as an exterior designer throughout the whole time, and I still primarily am an exterior designer with a new job as well. So yeah.
And I like one of the things that I think is quite interesting is your engineering background, because we have a preconceived idea of like, engineers turning into designers.
Yeah.
That, they shouldn't. I mean, at least that's, okay, I'll speak for myself. That's kind of the narrow-mindedness that I've maybe had in the past, not anymore. And I've realized how many fucking great designers there are that came from that background, and they are better for it. Did you feel like some sense of empowerment from having that kind of background? Like you knew something that other people didn't?
I think so, to some extent. Like looking back, I think so, because like even working with engineers and throughout the years, like they're like all sitting in CATIA and NX, and just in terms from a software perspective, I look at what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, I know how to do that. I can operate CATIA. However horrible that interface looks, I've spent some times in that.
It's pretty Windows 95, isn't it?
Dude, yellow surfaces and purple background. It's pretty great. Yeah. Yeah, and then also like a little bit of, obviously I never really worked as an engineer, and maybe because I was a bit of a shitty engineer is what I ended up, that's why I ended up doing design. But I do definitely think I have some like understanding, so you can't bullshit me as much as you probably could have if I wouldn't have had that as a background, maybe. So yeah, I do really appreciate it now. But back when I kind of went to Pforzheim, did LandRover, I felt like I'd done 5 years of engineering. What an absolute freaking waste of my life. That's what I thought then. But I don't see it that way now, like even just a few years later. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you tend. I mean, you definitely tend to see the bigger picture later on. I think if as time goes on, it may be. I mean, I would say especially with something like that, but I mean, it might be at the time, like in my case, where I spent like fucking 10 years in the hospitality industry, waiting tables and just, ruining my life. At the time you think it's a huge fucking waste of time. And then as things go on, you can see where like there's a certain skill set, no matter what experience you have, that is beneficial later on. And I think that like in your case, engineering must have been a huge help. I mean, from the point of view that you spoke about, but also like, isn't there a sense of pragmatism that comes with that, where you're not just like getting lost in making airy fairy shit all day? You're like, okay, well, what is the end goal? Is that how you think?
It's hard for me to say, because like I'm so in whatever, like myself or like what I'm doing, so it's kind of hard, going out and having a perspective on it. But I do think if I look at like my designs and what I do in general and my output, it's somehow it's conservative in some ways, but it's kind of maybe because it's a bit more grounded than what it would be if I wouldn't have had that background, because like if I do something, it might be, yeah, of course it's that way, because why would it be any other way? Kind of a thing like that. So I think it definitely affects my aesthetic preference, or the way I just go on about things. I think so.
Has that been limiting for you at all?
I believe it has in some ways. I think it's been enabling in terms of just getting on with things and efficiency, but definitely sometimes, and I think my workflow sometimes on how because I'm very modeling oriented. Sometimes that's that definitely it can get less creative. But I think as long as you're aware of that and you battle it, and yeah, you're doing pretty all right, I think.
So Erik, can you talk to me a little bit more about your general workflow, like in a very generic sense?
Yeah. So I guess, everyone starts with like just, finding inspiration, whatever you have, briefs or however you get on about with a project, just feeding your brain, visual stimuli, but also, information. But I think I usually just start out now. It's changed over the years, and especially to a point now where I'm just doing really rough doodles, like really it's really shitty ones too. I never was a great sketcher, but some of these sketches are just for me to see, and that's kind of information I feed to myself, and then I'm like, okay, that's all I need to kind of get going. If you squint in your eyes, it's like there's something there, and then I use either Modo or Alias. I'm getting into Blender now as well, as the rest of the world is. But Modo is another polygonal software, pretty similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but to Blender.
I'm aware of it, but I mean, I wouldn't say familiar with it in terms of using it.
Yeah, it's like kind of my go-to tool. But and I just do, whip up something in 3D pretty quickly, and then just throw it into some rendering software and take it back and forth, iterate. So it's over the past year, like Photoshop is getting less and less, like just digital sketching for me is less and less of a thing without like 3D, which is scary to some extent, but it's become, I managed to like create a fairly efficient workflow, and I can get my way around it. So yeah.
That is becoming more appreciated now, I think, where designers are able to use Alias to that, or a 3D program to the extent that you're talking about. The thing is, historically, it wasn't necessarily always viewed as a positive thing. It would have very much been viewed as a kind of crutch for not being able to sketch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've felt that. I think people coming in now, starting out, will not like feel that heat the same way. But I really felt that, like, even in Coventry, like how the teachers would really tell me off, and also just like throughout Pforzheim too, people would look at, whatever I have a sketch or rendering or something, and they'd be like looking at that, and they'd be like, yeah, but I can see that, you built the 3D model under that, so it doesn't really count, does it? And I'm like, all right, it's so I got a lot of that, but I'm not getting that anymore. So I don't know. I think like processes and the design industry is changing a lot, and the tools are changing. So I think I was just lucky to be maybe ahead of the curve on that a little bit, but not because I, foresaw it. It's just because I kind of used, because I used it as that crutch, a little bit. But yeah.
Did you like? What is your sketching like? Like, if you wanted to sit down now and produce a hero sketch, would it give you anxiety?
I don't know. Like, it's I don't really do that anymore. So I'm sure it would. I'm sure there's a lot of rust that would like have to come out before I could do that. It was definitely at that level was probably a lot better when I was in Pforzheim than it is now. Was there like an overnight like, fuck, I've got it now, a moment at Pforzheim? Not really. I think it was just progressively, and I think it was had a lot to do with just, we did a bit of Alias there, and we had a teacher called Lutz, who was just like explained it like so easily, everything was just I heard
a lot about Lutz. I heard he's a bit of a hero.
Oh, he is. He's amazing. He's just so calm and calculated, like it's like a German robot with a bit of emotion, and he's I think that kind of really enabled me in terms of getting better, just like upping the Alias skills, like learning 3D properly, and then how that fed into like just sketching and understanding of 3D again, because it definitely like the sketching level got better as that got better, because you just, have a better perception of, how things move in 3D. Yeah.
I mean, it's with the whole sketching process, it's quite interesting how different people use it in different ways, because some people kind of just get lost in it and will things kind of, ideas kind of happen by mistake. I mean, it happens by mistake anyway at times, but I think there's also, a large demographic that are used of designers that, especially nowadays, that are kind of really using it to work things out and to kind of like really go, okay, if I put that line there and this line there, then I'll transition it, like you're actually using it as a real, it sounds cheesy to say, but as a real tool, rather than just letting your subconscious come out, know, and neither way is correct or wrong for that matter. It's just interesting to me, those two things. Like if I ever sketch now, it will be very much to kind of like, I would never show anybody it, but it would, as you said, it'd be very much for me to kind of work something out, like how I'm going to resolve two volumes, for example. But I know guys that are just like, I mean, you've seen them as well, I'm sure, like just that can just like blast out fucking awesomeness, like, so. And there's something, I fucking hate it. I just, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of envy, but I think both are like super valuable, because like, as you said, you can use it as, it's the best way of like thinking and basically laying out things and understanding something. It's just drawing it, and it doesn't have to be pretty in order to do that. But I do love the beauty of like creating like nice sketches, or like just being a little spontaneous, and like, you see something and stuff happen that you necessarily wouldn't think of, and I love that, because it's more like, I really like the idea of being the editor, like where you just like take a step back and you look. Like I quite often do that, even if I do an image or something. I take out my contact, so like my vision gets blurry. I take a step back, I go to the back of the room, and I look at the screen from different angles, and I look at it, I'm like, is there something there, that I wouldn't have thought of? And I might like get my phone up and zoom in and take a photo from that angle, and then like, bring that into the computer again and have a look at it, and just, be an editor and like trying to connect dots and find something that I never ever would have done, just by my normal like gestures, hand, whatever, or just like the way I generally think. So yeah.
It's almost like stealing from yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, fuck, I'm gonna steal that, and yeah, that's that. I mean, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And I think, I was speaking to this guy the other day who will be on the podcast soon, who was fucking incredible designer, and he was talking about this way that they were working on clay in his early days, when he was kind of learning things. And the guy that his kind of manager was showed him this trick to kind of like, go to the other end of the room and look at the model with a mirror, like not looking directly at the model, but looking at the mirror to kind of see something different. It's almost like spinning the model around in Alias, for example, like really zooming out far and squinting a little bit, but it's kind of doing that in real life.
Yeah.
And those are really, I think, important things to do, because that's kind of how like these happy accidents come about.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You just want to like basically entertain yourself, I think, to some extent, and just surprise yourself, and then let your mind make a connection that maybe not necessarily is there. I think that's and then of course you got to like edit it and simplify it and make it into a cohesive thing in the end. But it's I do really love that like kind of workflow or.
on that subject, Eric, like I don't want to make it all about things that I've seen, but there's a really good series on Netflix called Abstract, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the first season there's a German illustrator called Christoph Niemann, he's a graphic designer pretty much,
yeah,
and his episode, I think for the most part, was like the least flashy in terms of like props. You know, there was an episode with Ralph Giles from FCA, and it was like, you know, full all the stimulation that you get from a car design studio. But Christoph's episode for me was like one of the most interesting. And he was the guy that was kind of interviewing him was asking him about the separation between this kind of like the start of the project and then, you know, crystallizing whatever it is that you're trying to do. And he was talking about you know, the different mindset that you need to adopt from being this, like at the beginning, this careless artist, and then at the end being this ruthless editor where you're like, okay, that was okay, but this needs to go, that needs to go, that needs to go. Because at some point, you know, the best stuff is like, you know, the least amount of information that just, you know, holds something up there. And I think that those two things, like the separation between those two things is again, maybe not talked about enough.
No, absolutely. I think that's yeah. I gotta rewatch that episode. I remember watched it. I think quite a while back. It's the first season, right, from a few years ago.
Yeah.
I do remember some of those episodes being, you know, a little bit of, you know, there's a lot of juice in them.
Yeah,
a little bit too much. Yeah.
Here's on it. I mean, again, I'm not. I don't want to hate on any of them because I, you know, for the most part, I think they all were quite interesting. You know, and I while I appreciate some of the stuff that Ralph had to say, like it did, like, you know, the whole car design thing did feel very kind of Hollywood for me, you know.
And we all know it isn't, so.
Well, yeah, and but he and I have to and again, you know, like I guess, you know, to a large extent, you know, Christoph's episode was as well. But for me, as somebody that doesn't really know that world at all, he made something that is like, you know, relatively, in my view, before up until that point, unexciting, pretty interesting, you know, and it was primarily because of the thinking that he was talking about and how he kind of realizes certain things. And he had a really great way of articulating these, I don't know what you would call them. And I mean, theories is not the right thing, but maybe philosophies with regards to work.
Yeah.
So the last fucking question I'm going to ask you about Pforzheim, like what is it about that those 2 years or 18 months that you spent there that you felt elevated you to the point where you felt confident enough to then go out and try again?
That's a tough question, but I think it's just the fact that it's I feel like it's a very kind of carefully curated student body, you know, in terms of composition, because you have they're very good at like selecting people coming together, and like you have, you know, I come in and I certainly was shit at a lot of things, but then, you know, then you have other people in my semester that were like awesome at those things, and maybe I knew things that some of those people didn't. So it's that kind of like joint kind of thing, everyone coming together and looking at each other's work, and you're like, all you're doing is like you're basically the pace and the way the program works, it's so short, like in terms of you have so little time to like produce an output, and you have like reviews every week, you have people coming in from Mercedes tutoring you, and you're like forced to, which I hated in the beginning, you're forced to put all your sketches up on the wall right behind your seat, you know. And I remember the first like couple of times doing that, I was just like feeling, oh shit, it feels really uncomfortable. And then you'd have the Mercedes guys come in and like basically butcher your work in front of everyone else. And, you know, it just, it was a good experience in terms of like, I guess like not feeling precious about things, and then just learning how to like deal with putting stuff stuff up and getting criticized for it, and then just taking that in and then just, okay, try and improve the next week. So yeah, I think it's just it's more the student body, and that's all due to the selection from the people running the transportation design school. So yeah.
Are you how much are you actually learning from the tutors in terms of like I don't know, like I've heard that like practical skills wise is like it's not that much. It's more about,
it's absolutely nothing, you know.
Right.
I'd say, but it's more like you get feedback and you get kind of like steered a little bit, and then it's kind of up to you to choose whether you like want to listen to that or not. But I think it's just the sheer amount of like work and the miles you put in together, and in an environment that's competitive but still friendly. So I think that's definitely it. It's just getting the time to do it. And Pforzheim, definitely you feel more pressure to do work there than I ever did at Coventry. Coventry, I'd be in, you know, at every bar having beers, you know, and, you know, getting, you know, doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. The Oak. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
Casbah.
The Casbah, fucking hell. You know, the amount of times that like we've had presentations and like the next morning at 9 o'clock and been like literally got kicked out of the Oak at like 5 a.m., you know, and that fucking place, dude. But I have to say, you know, it's a total dive, but I've had some great nights in there.
Oh yeah, hey, me too.
Sunday night karaoke, dude. I don't know if that shit's still going, but my fuck, I absolutely, yeah, some pretty mental nights in there. Like to the point where, like, I used to work in there's a TGI Fridays on the edge of town, and I used to work in that restaurant, and I would have guys like come up to me the next day when I'm working, like saying, "Hey Sam, how's it going? What if?" And I no idea who these fucking people were, and it was from that place.
Oh, I bet.
Dude, so after you finished Pforzheim, you obviously went over to the States, and like did you finally feel like, okay, I'm confident enough, I can hold my own, and I'm ready to go?
Yes and no. I think like wherever you go, you realize like just there's so much talent in this industry, you know, and you realize that people are so good. So I think you always feel a little bit like, you know, you gotta like perform and get better. So, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing. So, I didn't feel like totally set in terms of that, but I was happy to be where I was and you know, getting to work and just like learning. But I think for me more, it was just coming over here. It's probably suits me better as a person. It's like a little bit less corporate, a little bit less stiff, and that definitely is more to my liking than, you know, JLR, where you kind of have to, you know, dress up a little bit more, and it's you know, just like a little bit more stricter framework, you know, the pocket square and all that kind of stuff. So that's not really me, but so I think that really enabled me to like lower my shoulders a little bit, and then that also feeds into your mental state and in terms of being able to do work, I think.
I think, I mean, I definitely noticed a sense of relaxation with regards to that sort of thing in Europe, you know, compared to the UK. But I sometimes wonder if they are just, you know, a little bit late in terms of waking up to that sort of thing, you know. And I wonder if in 5 years' time, or in a couple of years' time, or if it's already happening, you know, if everybody's going to all of a sudden be in, you know, hoodies and Jordans. I don't know. But I mean, you know, certainly, I mean, my experience at VW, that was not the place that I expected people to be so fucking relaxed. And I think that eventually it kind of becomes the accepted norm that even in those corporate environments, those sort of things are adopted. Yeah. So I just don't know if they're a bit behind the times. I don't know.
No, but I think you're totally right. And I also think this pandemic and like has definitely progressed the working environment so much over such a short time span that wouldn't have happened if this wouldn't have gone down, you know? So I think, you know, I guess, terrible times to a large extent, but it's had a very positive impact on the workplace, I think, overall. So
definitely. I mean, I think people have, for one, managers for one, even if they haven't liked it, have had to relinquish the tendency to want to micromanage everything, and just realize, well, fuck, I can't, spy on everybody in their homes all day long. And actually, turns out, they're just as productive, if not more so, because they want to prove that they're doing work and that they are being productive at home.
Yeah. So
that's very that's a very positive thing for sure. And this whole remote working thing is also for me, I've done a couple of things already remotely, and it's that would never have happened otherwise. So I'm pretty grateful for it.
Yeah. No, it's as we all have experienced, it has its pros and cons, but just being able to have a balance going forward, I think that's awesome. Just for a life balance in general. So yeah.